voting that is available, is this something that needs to be in contract stating that there won't be meetings before and after school on election days? And I know we talked about state elections, not necessarily municipal elections, but does that need to be in contract? I mean, because we are stating that employees, teachers will be coming in late or leaving early to go vote. They're on contract. Our support staff wouldn't be getting paid until they clock in, so that time would have to be made up somewhere else.
I think that it sends a strong message to our employees that we believe that voting is important. I think it sends a strong message to the public that we believe that voting is important. And I think that in an environment today that we're facing so much harassment of our public schools and the attempt to dismantle our public schools, both at the state and the national level. I mean, both the Secretary of Education at the national level and at the state level have made it their life work to try to dismantle public schools. Corcoran did it as a legislator. I have to believe that he is continuing to do it now as the Secretary of Education. DeVos has made no bones about the fact that she's trying to dismantle public schools.
And I'm not arguing that.
I think that it is a strong statement to both our employees and to the public that voting is important. And this is not saying, it's not saying that it's not saying take time away from the students. It's saying that we are going to encourage. Marion County encourages it, encourage their employees. This language actually came from the Marion County contract. They encourage their employees. They give incentive to their employees if they go vote, if they show that they voted. I think that sometimes it is important that we put things as a statement of importance. And this is not going to do anything to take away from the school system. It's not trying to rob Paul to pay Peter or anything, but it is making a statement that we are, as a school system, believe in our civil rights of voting, and that we support those civil rights. And we think that it's very important that we protect our public schools by voting. And it's not saying you vote who you vote for or what you vote for, but I think that is making a strong statement.
And I'm not arguing, Deborah, the importance to vote. You're talking to someone who taught civics and American history for over a decade. All right? So the importance of a society to have that, to have democratically elected officials that they choose, whatever party they happen to choose, that is their decision. But the right to vote is fundamental to our society. And our school system goes to great lengths to make sure that our students know that, and that our staff know the importance of voting. I don't believe there's ever been, if you know of a situation where there has been a staff member who hasn't been allowed to vote or had to stay late for a meeting and could not get to vote, please let me know, and I can see what I can do to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. But to say that, it's in contract, I'm just not sure if there were to be something that came up. I'm trying to think, the national elections is what I'm thinking of, happens on Tuesdays. We do have events that occur in November on Tuesdays. If there's a sporting event that occurs, and that coach is responsible for those kids after school until the sporting event. But now we've said in the contract that,
Steve, sometimes you have to use common sense, okay? And sometimes you can't.
I think I am using common sense.
No, I'm saying that sometimes you have to use common sense. I said there are going to be exceptions to some rules. It's just like Linda said, well, if you put in except for in the case of emergencies. Emergencies happen. Sometimes schedules are put up and a coach has no choice. Well then, I'm just saying that I think in a time when that public schools are being attacked, as they've been attacked for the last several years and for several years in the future at least, that we need to make a strong statement to our employees and to the public and say that we support our employees going to vote. I do not understand how this, why you're having such a scuffle on your blog about this.
My question is, it being in contract makes it more important than if it wasn't. That's your statement. I believe the right to vote for all of our employees is absolutely important. I'm just not seeing how it being put into the contract makes it more so.
I have some, we're not, the contract is supposed to be looked at all the time and every single year. But we're not always gonna be here. We're not always going to have the principal that says, yep, we're not gonna do it unless it's, unless there's an emergency, something happens. And we're just asking for that you don't, the person has the right to go and vote, if they're able to go and vote, and just come in a little late or come, leave a little early. And I know a lot of principals wouldn't mind doing it already, they wouldn't mind, but I don't understand why it is contractual. It is a contractual thing that we want in there because it's gonna be there then for as long as we're there until we bargain against it, or until you can bargain against it, or we change it again to meet the needs. And when you brought up athletics, it's not saying athletics there, so.
No, but they would, if they're responsible for the kids after school,
Yes.
they wouldn't be able to leave early to go.
It does not say that. It says will not hold any meetings and or in-services on those days unless there's an emergency.
It doesn't say coaching.
And I'm just saying, but we talk about if people need to leave early to go vote, they couldn't leave early to go vote if they had that event. And again, Deborah, I'm not saying that voting isn't important. I want to make that clear. I voted in every election since I was 18, even whenever I had to register early before I was 18 so I could vote in a local election. Okay? But to put it in the contract, if you're saying like it not being in contract makes it less important, that I gotta disagree with you on.
As gatekeeper, can I just interrupt and say maybe some conversation we have?
I have
I want just a clarification on in-service on those days. If we have a training and it's within the hours that we normally do, would that also, we're saying no district trainings, no in-service trainings on any?
No, I was saying before school or after.
After school, right, not just for one of those, okay, that's all.
Not saying grade planning period.
Yeah, no, I got you, I just was trying to clarify.
And if it's a problem with support because of their time, we can discuss options on that because they do have a different than we do.
Well, that is, like I said, and again, this is the first I saw what it actually was. That's why the support was the thing that popped in my head to begin with, because before we had True Time, it was a different situation. But with True Time, Department of Labor laws become a lot more concise on that. If they come in late, they would have to work late another day in order to make that up, or they would have to take time. So that is a concern of mine. That was the initial concern off the top of my head, knowing that if they came in 30 minutes late, they aren't getting paid. We can't just flex that time out and then not have to make it up.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, we can come up with something on, discussion on caucus or when we go to lunch on how we can change to accommodate the support without breaking that, but still have that time to vote as well. I think there could be something that we could look at. I off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm just saying that that's something, if that's a concern. But as far as teachers, there should not be a concern because they sometimes leave early anyway and sometimes come in late as long as they got the permission, to go. To a doctor's appointment.
And again, like I said, some of this is I'm trying to picture whenever I was a teacher in school, and some of you at the school sites can help me with this. If there's a parent conference, you had an issue with a kid, that parent wants to come in because, heaven forbid, it's never happened before, Monday night they find out that kid is failing all 6 of his classes, his or her classes. They want a conference that next day and they don't want to wait any more time. So a conference is set up for that next day, where the parent calls in and wants it. According to this, there can't be any meetings held before after school.
We said though, except for extenuating
Yeah.
circumstances or emergencies. So again, that can fall under that umbrella. And most times, it doesn't happen very
I know.
often. And we're talking just, again, 2 times a
And
year.
I know, and my concern is that, though, once it gets put into contract, as you said, it's in there.
But you can put on there different language that sits there and talks about extenuating circumstances. That would be an extenuating circumstance if that parent's saying, I wanna do it now. I mean, I'm sorry, but I still think the parent should not have the right to do that. And then you're sitting there taking my time now, you need to be able to go and do my duty and try to vote, because I like to wait until that same day. But at the same time, I mean, if it's, dry or drastic and I have to do it right then and there, of course I'm gonna go to meet that parent. But again, that's an extenuating circumstance. It's not- You should not be, when you do for a parent conference, they have it on the calendar. I say, oh, it's during the time I wanna vote. No, I'm gonna reschedule, please. I mean, so I don't understand where the argument is, except for support. I can maybe see something has to be done about support because of the time, that's a good time clock thing. But,
Okay.
yeah, good
Okay.
time.
Like I
But,
said, that was my initial concern, was immediately was to support, because they can't flex their time as our instructional staff can't. Our instructional staff stays late. Support is clock in, clock out. And if they miss 30, 40 minutes to vote, they have to make up the 30, 40 minutes, or put in time. Which is not what you're attempting here, to say that
Right.
they put in time for that to be able to come in late.
I think that could be a discussion that we can try to figure out, something for them to still have that same opportunity to be able to go and vote, where they don't have any meetings or any in-services on those days. Again, I don't know, I'm just saying that all she's asking for, all we're asking for is that unless there's extenuating circumstances, there's no meetings held or in-services on that day. We don't have a faculty meeting on the day that's voting in the morning. You don't have, and we all sit there and have to go to listen to an in-service in that morning. I mean, or right after school. That's all it's being asked. I don't see why it's a problem to have that in the contract. I mean, it's very minute. But at the same time, it's saying, yes, we care about public education. We're gonna make sure our people have a chance to go vote. If they're those traditionalists that like to wait.
And for that, we're talking about putting something in the contract for someone's personal preference. Like I said, I prefer to go vote that day,
Yeah.
I don't have to.
But again, have you ever looked at the statistics of how many teachers vote?
No, I've never-
It's very low. It's very, very low. And one of the main reasons why is, first of all, the reason why I don't do the mail-in, it's not traditional. It's because I'm so busy, it's one of those priorities that I sit there and just set aside. It's like, oh, I'll get to it, and then I miss it because it's not a priority at that time because I'm grading papers, I'm taking care of everything I've got to take care of at school. So, and that's how we are, we're busy. You should know that as a teacher, you get
I do know
very,
that.
very busy, and as a support person, they're constantly having to do things at school all the time. So it gets put on the shelf, and then you forget about it. Until, oh my gosh, today's the day, oh my gosh, I gotta go vote. And then we go vote. But it's very difficult if you have a meeting or something or an in-service that you have to go to on that day. And again, it's not happening, it's not happening all the time, again, no. But that's why we want it in contract, just to make sure that just those 2 times,
Every 2 years.
yes, every 2 years,
Has
we're able to do
there
that.
been a time where it has happened to someone where they couldn't, that I'm asking because I don't know of one, but I'm asking, that's never come up before. That someone couldn't go?
I have researched that, Steve.
Okay. Go ahead.
You have, for example, someone losing their right. I don't know one. I don't want to know one. The best time to prevent somebody from losing their right is beforehand, because you can't restore it once it's been lost in that election.
Okay.
So I think
I can't
that's
argue with you on that.
priority
but
everybody has.
And again, like I
That's the
said,
priority I have.
I know we're splitting hairs a little bit here, but whenever we have 2 weeks of early voting in advance, and I get it, like I said, I vote the day up.
Yeah.
You know, that's a personal preference on my part. I've also voted early because I knew I could not the day up. But that was a priority for me to make sure that I voted.
Yeah, and that's part of the voter responsibility, but at the same time, if you put the language in to say we support it, we're not gonna try to make it harder for you to vote, and you give the people all their opportunities they have a chance. I like to vote after work, I always have, and I haven't had a problem with that. But if that day something happened, and I had to stay late for something that was avoidable, like a meeting, and meetings are not very important, that you couldn't wait till the next day. Voting is very important.
If I could make a suggestion, I appreciate you speaking up. We have a lot of new people, but can we go around the room and just have people kind of share? I know everybody's got to be thinking about this issue, and if somebody has some idea that maybe, but we have a lot of new people, and I'm not sure that they want to speak up right now. I mean, because this is kind of intimidating, maybe, I don't know. But, and if you just have something you want to pass, that'd be fine. I mean, I just think we need to allow, there's a lot of new people here. This is the biggest committee I've ever been a part of. Usually there's not this many people. But I'm sure we can find a possible solution in there, an idea. We're all very smart people.
Well, I don't mind sharing.
Okay.
I will say that busy is my middle name as an educator. And although I'd like to get to the early voting, it never happens. I'm always flying by the seat of my pants the last day getting in, truly. And I make it a priority. However, as been brought up, our profession is lacking in the encouragement to get out and vote. And if we, as a principal, might say, we are not having our usual staff meeting this month because it's important that all employees get out and vote, then we're encouraging that message, and we are under attack. And we have to go out and vote. And we have to start small, we have to start somewhere. We have to start sending that message that it's important. We know you're busy. If I was a principal, which I never would be, I would probably put an email out that said, I know you're busy, but this is a very important civic duty, and we will meet again. Maybe we will fill in this date later this week, or maybe whatever. And it's getting that message out there.
I feel that putting that language in, and there will not be, at least after, but there will be no meetings, that as soon as you're done for the day, you can leave and be able to make it to your voting precinct on time. That you don't have to stay for anything else, whatever it may be, on your own time, not on the school's time, on your own time.
Is the union's intent is to make sure and encourage people to vote? Can we just make a strongly worded belief statement of the importance of that? Do you need the time off of not to hold any meetings and in-services? Because I don't think there's a principal out there that doesn't disagree with this. We all think public education is important. And so, you know, a strongly worded belief statement and an encouragement of the, you know, this is important to our school district, and we want to encourage you to do that. I think the holding, not making any meetings, because I don't want to ever violate a contract. I want to be very careful. And as soon as you say that I have to not have a meeting or an in-service or something, those requirements, I just, that's one more thing we need to have to be careful for. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to vote. Over here.
Well, one thing, as a pretty new teacher, it's my first year last year, and I know there's going to be quite a few new teachers coming in the district, hopefully. It is overwhelming, and I think that it wasn't expressly stated, oh, no, you can't, go vote or whatever. But we did have a meeting the day of, because I remember several people coming in late with I voted stickers. So that made it difficult. And then the other thing would be that had I known, or at least just been stated at some point, that I could leave like right after playing, or that I could be a little late during non-student contact time in the morning to go vote, then, it would have been better to have that information. So I think it is important in putting it in the contract, so that especially new teachers can see that, not only see that it's a priority to vote, but that, that it's okay if they're a little late, because a new teacher is not gonna, more than likely they're not gonna do that unless someone tells them that it's okay. And yes, you have early voting, but, my husband and I, brand new, we did not think about it until literally people had the, oh no, it's voting day, we need to go vote. And it's not that we didn't care, but it was just, there's a million other things going on. So just speaking to that specifically, that demographic that we're hoping to pull in, those new teachers to fill the tons of positions we have open.
Hi, Linda Stiegler, Crest School, CCEA. Besides doing classroom duties, our aides are also on buses. Our first bus is 6 o'clock in the morning, and our last bus comes in at 6 o'clock at night. I'm also traditional. I love going to the election people and thanking them for their job that they're doing. I don't mail, I don't trust the mail, I don't do early voting, because I go and I see the people. So we start from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and when do we have the time to go vote? So if you can write something in our contracts to make sure, to ensure, to encourage our people to go out and vote, it'll be appreciated.
Samantha Churchill, Canton Primary. I am a returning teacher here. I started my career here in Citrus County. The language from Marion County I am used to. My first year there, the principal encouraged us to go either before or after school. There was an incentive if you brought I had voted sticker in, you put your name in along with your little sticker on the little piece of paper, and whatever teacher's name was pulled, they had a free day. He encouraged us, he said, I appreciate what you do. There was even a competition within the county that year to see how many principals can get their teachers to go out and vote, and that, I can't remember what that principal got, but the momentum in the county was, we want to hear your voice, not just nationally and state, but locally too, because on the ground floor, this is where we make the difference here. So I thank you. Your name, sir, please?
Mr. Herm, or Rob Herm.
Thank you for opening up for a new person to speak and express how they feel. Being a woman of color, voting is very important to me. It was instilled in me as a child sitting around the table. My grandfather shared how his grandfather was not able to vote just because of what he looked like. So to sit here and discuss why it shouldn't be put in the contract, my question is, why should it not?
I wanted just to say, and I agree, and I love the idea of the state and strongly supporting it. Mrs. Hill has always sent out, encourage you to vote. Ms. Hill has email blasts that says, no matter who you vote for, just vote. We can pull up samples of each season that happened, so I do believe there has been communication, but we still have had the same results. But I can understand why we're asking to elevate it because of what's been happening in public education. I get it.
Well, I do. My name is Angie. I work at Citrus High School. The question I have was support. If you are to, normally I do it before, and I go before I even start. But if you had to, and you were 15 minutes late, yes, technically we're not supposed to flex, however, but you could still stay. You were 15 minutes late coming in, you stay 15 minutes later. So your time would not be at any problem, as long as it's within that week and within that day, knowing I'm going to vote, oh my God, I'm 15 minutes late. Then I would, instead of leaving at 3:30, I would leave at 3:45.
That's what I acknowledge.
And that's, as a support person, I know that's how that operates. If I come in 15 minutes early and left at 3:30, then guess what? I'd be short 15 minutes, and then they're gonna question, which therefore you just stay 15 minutes after. But that's communication, and you let the person know, hey, I'm voting, I might be just a few minutes late. Of course, you just won't not show up.
But as you said, and real quick, you said about communication, that's what we've used in the past, and it's worked, as far as I know, just fine. If an employee says, hey, listen, I gotta stop in and vote on my way to work, I'll be a few minutes late, and I'm pretty sure, probably even with your time, they allow people to flex that time out, possibly that same day. You know, it's usually on a Tuesday, so not that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, get it figured out on that time. But with that communication's always been there. My question is, why does it need to be in the contract if it's always been, as Lindy said, Ms. Simmel's always encouraged us to vote, since she's been superintendent. I've gotten those emails, even more than once a year when we have primary elections, for people to go out and vote and have your voice heard. So that communication's always been there, so I'm not seeing why there's a need for it to be in contract, in a way, whenever that has always been out there for us.
All right, here and then Ms. Bruno.
I just wanted to say that we've always not scheduled meetings on election days, and I most certainly will continue to do that. But I heard two different issues that I just need some clarification. Because when you shared your schedule, which is very, that's very different. Like, how do we do 6? Because if we say you could, I'm not explaining this clear enough. Someone coming in a little late can flex 15 minutes, et cetera. That works out well. How does somebody assigned to a bus flex? Because now we just think we just need to be clear on how we solve those kinds of problems. I don't disagree that it's important, but it's important for you all that are on buses. So then how do we cover that bus? It still has to go. I just think we need conversation about those little details, so we're not missing an entity of people. The instructional is one way of doing things. We can not have any meetings. That solves for them. For the support staff that can come in 15 minutes late the next day, that solves for them. It doesn't solve for the people that ride buses, cafeteria, well, that's different. But it doesn't solve all of them. So I don't know who we're asking for, or appreciate that.
Bruno?
I was gonna pass, but then I thought, I think the expression of the definition of sanity is doing the same thing, but expecting different results. And at the root of this need is basically to protect our school system, voting and protecting our school system. That's the root of the need. And we've done things, and I totally nodded my head and agree with you. I've seen those emails from Ms. Hempel and appreciate them. However, we do need, as you said, to elevate the issue. We have to try something new, something different before it's too late. Before it's too late. And so, I think getting into the root of problem solving is more important than I think most of us around the table agree. The issue is probably worth attacking. And problem solving, like you said, addressing someone who's on the bus from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Well, not that often, but those we have to find a solution for those rare, that's not everybody, and move forward, is what I think.
All right.
I think everybody agrees that this is important, and I think the only disagreement I hear is whether it should be in contract or not. And I agree that Ms. Himmel's been very supportive of years of emails, and I think most administrators in the county are. I've worked in the county now for 17, 18 years. But unfortunately, we do have, I don't think it's anybody in the room, but there are situations where you have new people come in where there can be an environment where people do not feel comfortable to use that time. And I think to ignore that, this is just a way of saying to those limited exceptions that this is important, and this is what Ms. Himmel and our district stand for by putting it in contract.
If the question comes, I'm sorry, Robinson, if the question comes that, I have no issue, I'll be more than happy to speak to not just the principals, but all of our administrators and express that you need to make sure that our employees are encouraged to go vote. And not just the national, but the primary elections as well. When there's an election and they have an opportunity for their voice to be heard, I'll tell the principals and all administrators, you need to encourage your employees to go vote. if CCA has some posters that you'd like for us to put up that, you know, not picking a party, just say, election day is this day, get out and vote. I'll have them put up at the school and work sites in conspicuous locations, workrooms, where the time clock is, wherever you like. I don't have a problem with that. You know, making sure everybody knows exactly when. Go to your polling place early. I know we talked about early voting, but early voting dates are these dates for people to go do that. If that's what we want, I'm happy to do that. I'll go drive them out to the schools and sites myself. Gets me out of the basement for a few minutes. Okay, happy.
Oh, yes.
I think we're making an assumption that we're going to change behavior and encourage teachers to vote for the 20 minutes that we don't have a meeting. I think that the early voting, I mean, it's a personal choice if you're still trying to hurry up and get there on election day, but I don't think it's necessary for it to be in the contract. I think that we should do a better job promoting voting, and it's for weeks long, not just on one day. But again, I would not hold a meeting on election day, I don't, anyway, but I don't think it belongs in the contract. We're making an assumption that when we put it in the contract, we're gonna change behavior and all our teachers are gonna go vote, and I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm just wondering if we can caucus this, it's lunchtime anyway, and discuss a little bit more on all the issues that were brought up. You guys can discuss it, we're gonna discuss it.
I'm fine with that,
Because as everyone said, we're all about the voting, so I think there needs to be some just discussion.
Can we be back about 1? Does that work for everybody? I'm off track of time, I'm sorry. About an hour, 20 minutes, is that good for everybody to get something to eat? Okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you, folks. We'll be back here at 1. Oh, I'm gonna try, my goodness. Come on in here.